This video mostly builds on what was said in previous videos, so if you've seen them, this should be a bit easier. I'll do T-side anti-ecos first. For the most part, you want to deconstruct your default and use that, but you want to play further back to prevent your team from getting save rushed or stacked on. First, on second round, you want to have your opper only buy a pistol. This gives him extra money for his op, and it lets your team have one player sacked for info sometimes. He can also pick up weapons from dead teammates to keep them out of opponents' hands. Second, set up in long-range positions where you can have two players supporting each other easily. For cash, this means you probably want to run one person B connector, one person backside mid-garage, one person A main, and one person outside of squeaky. With this setup, any of these players can support each other easily, and they're all holding long-range angles. This means you can shut down coordinated pushes very easily. Most importantly is that you have players supporting each other. For a map like Nuke, you can't always stay in long-range angles, but you can have a player next to his teammate to get a trade kill. Also important to note is that you don't want to play too far back. This can allow the enemy team to get too much information and easily stack the site you're going to. Third, after your team holds for a while, if there aren't any significant pushes, you want to more or less go into your default, but you want it broken down to mostly only utilize flashes rather than smokes, and you want your team to go either 5 all together or 3 in one direction, 2 in another to pinch a site. The reason you don't want to throw many smokes is that they can hide in your smokes or push through them and catch you off guard. For cash, this means if you think they aren't scouting, you throw a pop flash out mid and have 2 come over the box and 3 come out of the middle opening. Or you do a 2-1 in mid instead and have 2 players waiting in A main. If you think they're scouting, you're best to throw a smoke at Z connector as well. However, you need someone watching that at all times. The reason you don't go straight out A or B is if they stack either, you'll end up in a really close scenario to their players and you'll be very vulnerable. You can also have a lot of problems even if they aren't stacked. Fourth, after taking mid control, if you haven't lost anyone, head towards one site, preferably the more open of the sites on the map, and try and take control. If you haven't spotted anyone out yet, they're probably stacked on a site, so just send your pistoler into one site to have them find out. I've stated this as the main anti-eco because it's the safest against stacks. However, one major way that pro teams play it is to execute quickly rather than wait, usually out middle. The pros to this are that you prevent pistolers from getting set up into weird spots and you can take them out from long range angles a lot of the time. The downside is that you're extremely vulnerable to stacks and nade stacks. For CT side anti-ecos, you want to play the same as you usually would, except take as many long range angles as possible. Don't push up into weird angles where you can get one-shotted with a P250 or Tech 9, and if you do, make sure you only have a shotgun or something so you don't get in a spot where they have full control of a rifle. Ecos. On CT side, you want to try and utilize stacks, risky spots, or dual pushes. For cash, this means I sometimes stack 4 towards B hiding, specifically waiting for the other team to commit to the site before peeking. The reason I do 4 not 5 is because I want the 5th player to play A connector so they don't 100% suspect that we're stacking. Usually I have them smoke off middle, then head to A main and peek it quickly. For risky spots, this means that I'll often boost onto the box next to A main. To do this, you can smoke off A main, jump onto the toxic barrels, and boost up. Or, if you're feeling really risky, you can open squeaky the other direction and boost up there. For dual pushes, usually I push squeaky or boost over the mid boxes. While I don't suggest to go for a buy on second round, I would suggest potentially buying a scout for your opper. By this, I mean for you to get someone to drop a scout to your opper, or at least you want someone to be able to save money and buy an op for him later. If he buys a scout second round, he can't afford one fourth round. For T side, unlike CT side, you usually want to buy armor on second round. The reason for this is that your gear is cheaper and you can get more money by planting. For ecos, you mostly want to be trying to utilize the strategy I went over in the T-pistol video. Find as many close range angles as possible and try to figure out how to get in good spots utilizing only one smoke or 1 to 2 flashes. This means for A, you can smoke off toxic and truck area with one smoke, then pop flash in if you want. You can also try a smoke execute with several smokes, where you nullify most if not all long range angles and try and get a plant in the smoke. If you can get a plant most of the time, it's worth it. One thing that isn't talked about very much is you will often end up in a situation where one of your teammates has a lot more money than the rest later in the game. You can consider having him simply buy up so his money evens out with yours, and have him run out and try to win the round for your team in 1v1 situations. Finally, I'll show you the way Titan plays their default. This strat works on playing quickly on mid with 2 players to spot whether or not they're stacking and take them out at very long range angles if they're not. They also have control of A with 2 players that can easily fall back. While Maniac doesn't have support from his teammates immediately, he does have support from mid if they want to go through vents, and Maniac is also in a position where he'll get several kills and his teammates can instantly go to the other bomb site if they do push through B. Thanks for watching. Next up is quick hits and smoke hits, and after that I'll go over how you can implement these tactics in your gameplay.